Hello, and welcome to an introduction to using SVN in the Viewpoint TSVN Toolkit in LabVIEW. I'm going to walk through an example today of a basic SVN workflow in LabVIEW. So the first thing I've done is I've created a folder in my C drive called repos, and within that I have another folder called SCC example, and this is going to become my repository here. So I'm going to right click. I already have Tortoise SVN installed. I'm going to go to create repository here. And I'm also going to have this create my trunk branches tags folder structure. This is something that I just do with most repos. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go to Start Repo Browser. So in here you can see I now have my trunk branches tags. I'm going to click on trunk and I'm just going to copy this URL because this is going to be useful in a minute. I'm just going to click OK there. So now in this folder, I have my SVN repository files. These are not ones that you want to modify yourself. So think of this as the server. So I'm just going to minimize this for now because we're not going to do any more work with this. So now in here, I have a continuous measurement and logging project that I've created called SCC example. And so I have some LabVIEW code. And we'll just pretend that this is code that I've imported or I've brought in from somewhere else, or maybe code that I've started with. So I'm going to right click on SCC example, and I'm going to go to SVN checkout. You can see it because I have my URL copied already. It's just going to bring that in here. But it's also going to try to append this SCC example all lowercase with no spaces to my file path because that is the name of the repo. But I don't want my checkout to be there. I want it to be in SCC example. So I'm just going to get rid of that. When I click OK, it's just going to give me a warning because that folder is not empty. And in this case, I understand that and I'm OK with that. So I'm going to click OK. And now I get my green icon overlay for this folder because this folder is the same as what is in the repository. In here, though, I have a lot of not versioned files. So this is actually the point where I can start working with these files in LabVIEW, but I'm going to do one quick thing first. This .aliases and .lps files should not be version controlled. These are modified just by opening a project file and are not important to the source code. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to select both of these files, and then I'm going to right click and go to Tortoise SVN, add to ignore list, and I'm going to say ignore two items by extension recursively. And this way, if I create any projects in subfolders, if this is a more complex project, it's automatically going to ignore those file types anywhere that I create them. And this is just telling me that they've been added to the global ignore list. So now if I press F5 and refresh the folder here, you can see that I have my ignored icon overlays. This just means that SVN is no longer going to bother me with trying to add these files or anything like that. So then I'm going to open up my project in LabVIEW, and you can see that I already have some of those icon overlays here. The reason you're not seeing it on some of these files is that they're within folders that are not versioned. So SVN does not recurse through non-versioned folders to find out the status of items in there. So once it goes beyond the first level, you're not going to see these icon overlays, but we can still commit these and add these files anyway. So there's a few different ways of doing that. One is I can just right click on any item in my Project Explorer and just go to SVN add, and that will automatically change the icon overlay to add, and that will mark that as added. This doesn't mean that it's in the repository yet. It just means that in my working copy, this is a file that has been marked as added. So the next time I go to do a commit, it will go and add that file to the repository. There's other ways of adding files as well. If I open up my SCC example main, I can go to the Files menu, and I have my SVN operations here, as well as the Tools menu. I have my SVN operations here as well. So just do it through here. Viewpoint TSVN Toolkit, add, and now this will be added, and you can see that the icon overlay has updated in the project. So I'm just going to close that for now. And the rest of these, I don't want to have to go through and select these one by one. So I'm going to use the toolbar. If you're not seeing the TSVN toolbar up here, just right click and hide some of your other toolbars, or just increase the size of the width of your Project Explorer window to view that. So I have this add button here, all of these buttons work on the entire folder that your project file resides in. So in this case, I can click on add, and it's going to give me an option to just add all of these files right now. So I'm going to click OK. And SVN is going to go through and mark all of those as added. And eventually my icon overlays will update here. In some cases, it takes a few seconds, but those will get updated. Now, because I want to add all of these files as one atomic commit, instead of right-clicking and going to SVN commit, I'm going to go up here to the toolbar and I'm going to click on the commit button so I can commit everything at once. So all of these are related to the same change. So I'm just going to say code import for a message. It's a good idea to always leave a message in here, and it doesn't need to be anything complex. Just something as simple as code import is enough for somebody to know what happened on this revision. And you can see that this is getting committed to the trunk as well, which is correct. So I'll click on OK. SVN is going through and sending all of these files to the repository now. And then you can see after a few seconds here that our icon overlays will update to a green check mark, and that's showing us that these files are now the same as what is in the repository. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're up to date with the latest. It just means that at the revision that my working copy is, say revision 2 in this case, all of my files are the same as what's in the repository and have not been modified or added or deleted or anything like that. So before I do any more work, assuming I have other people working on this, or maybe I have a couple of working copies, I'm just going to do an update to make sure that there's nothing else in the repository that I don't have at this point. So I've done that update. You can see no files were modified, of course, because nobody else is working with this. So now I'm going to go in and make some changes to my project here. So I'm going to open up SCC example main. You know what? I really like the color red for my chart line. I also want to change this word exit to quit because I just like that better. So I'm going to do Control S to save. And again, I can commit from many, many different locations. One that I haven't mentioned yet is some of the more common operations like lock and commit are available from Quick Drop as well. So I can actually do Control Space, Control C, and you can see it brings up my commit dialog. In this case, I only have one file to commit, so I'm okay with doing it this way. I'm just going to say changed line color to red and changed exit to quit. That's as much as I need for a log message, and somebody won't need to go and view what my modifications to that VI were. They can just look at my log message instead. So I'm going to click on OK. And again, I'm going to do an update, and I'm doing this a lot here, but of course, if you're working, you don't need to do this every few minutes, but maybe when you first sit down to start working, you'll want to do an update before you're working on anything else. I'm just going to show one other example here that's a little more complex. So I'm going to open up the SCC example logging library and go into the logging message loop. So I have some code in here that I want to make a little more. I want to make this into a sub VI so that I can reuse it. So this code here just appends the date and time to a file path, to a file name. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to create a sub VI. Open up my sub VI. I'm going to save this. I'm just going to call it append dates time to file name. And we'll close that. You can see, of course, this VI has modified as well. I'm going to close that, save it and close it, as well as my project has been modified. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-S or click on this button here just to save everything. That way, everything that's associated with this change gets modified. So you can see my library is modified as well as my file now are modified. And I have this new file that has not been added yet. It's still unversioned. So I'm going to right-click and do SVN add. Just to show that I can do this another way too, I'm going to undo that add. I'm going to put it back to a non-versioned file. And I'm just going to do, again, an atomic commit up here, multiple files. I can also add this file from here, as well as if I just check all and I select everything in here, SVN is smart enough to know that when I commit this and I've checked this, that it's automatically going to add that to the repo. So I'm just going to say created app, and as soon as I get to app, it's going to see that I have this file name in here and try to do an autocomplete. So I can just hit tab or enter to autocomplete that. You can see I didn't even need to type in that long file name again. Then I'm going to click OK, and you can see that all 3 files got sent to the repository. So I had 2 files that were modified and 1 new file. And now my repository is updated. So now I'm back to all green check marks because everything in the working copy that I have here is the same as that same version in the repository. And this is just some of the ways that you can work with a project using the Viewpoint TSVN Toolkit. Thank you.